Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today I thought we'll go through the rest of the data mines which came out for the second dev server for Update Danger Zone. There's been a lot of information when it comes to these dev servers, and a lot of people have been asking me when do I think the update's going to come out, so I thought I'd basically talk about it here. I thought it was going to come out this week, I'm not going to lie. I thought it was going to come out this Thursday. I mean, it still might, but I highly doubt it, but we'll have to see going forward. So what is more likely is we get it next week. Next week would make a little bit more sense as it comes to things. So I feel maybe next Tuesday, maybe next Thursday, who knows? Since we didn't really get a D-Day event apart from the history pages stuff and the sales stuff, it may still come out this week, but I highly doubt it. Anyway, let's get into the data mines. So we start off with certain changes being reverted, which are the Naval hull break changes. Basically, they made it so if you shot any machine in Naval enough, then it would just break. This is including stuff like battleships. So as long as you had like an 88mm, and you just kept peppering it in the same place, eventually it would just crack and pop. They've removed that, so you won't be able to do that anymore, which, is probably a positive, because it means armor's a bit more useful, but also at the same time, it means that machines will be a lot less balanced between them. It also means that just extensive fire rate is not going to be the meta as much, even though it is pretty good right now. Then we have the heavy cruisers. They've increased the HP on a bunch of places on them. So the bridge, compartment, elevator, hull, shell storage, charge storage, pretty much everywhere. Heavy cruisers have had their HP increase, but they have had their fire control, engine room, and auxiliary turret stuff actually lowered. So all the kind of more important areas have been increased, apart from the engine room, which has been lowered. Also, on the Asheville, the PGM-84, they've removed a fire director mount, which kind of sucks for it, but not a huge deal. The Baltimore has slightly more armor, and by slightly more armor, I mean it's going from 203mm on the front to 203.2. So they're making it a little bit more defined, but nothing that's really going to affect the vehicle. On the Brooklyn, they're giving it a bit more armor in certain areas, so it will become a little bit more bulky. And then on the Candid, they've actually lowered the compartment HP. I already thought it was pretty low to begin with, so that kind of sucks for it. The Cleveland, they changed a bunch of its armor around. It looks overall like it's reduced in armor, so a lot of reductions across the board, so it's probably going to be a little bit less armored. The Frank Knox, which is of course the new DD, the USS Gearing, which has just come in. It got some of its stats and how it was going to work. We covered it on the dev server, so if you want to see it, make sure to check out that video on it. The Hoquiam, which is still a name which I will never be able to pronounce, is getting a few changes. This is at the high echelons of the coastal tree for the Americans. I've only ever seen one in battle, because I don't know why you take it over destroyers and stuff like that. But its hull HP has increased, its compartment HP has been lowered, and its breach time has been changed a bit. It takes, or it's quicker to repair, which is quite good. And also overall, it seems to have been made a little bit more tanky. The Admiral Hipper and the Prinz Eugen, both of them have had their armors changed up, so their main turret fronts are now RCA and their sides are RHA. They've increased a bit of armor when it comes to their first and fourth main turret, but the second and third have been reduced in armor. So there'll be ones which are easier to kill and ones which are not so easy to kill. The Bayern, a bunch of things have been changed about it, including a bunch of armor values. Overall, it's got a bit more tanky compared to what it was before. The Karl Marx has had the same change as the Hoquiam, so basically on its breaches. So it's made a bit more survivable. The Kern and the Lübeck, they've added a fire control room for them. They've merged 2 hull plates. The transmission HP has increased, and also they've removed 5 bulkheads. So a few changes to those vehicles. The M17 and M601 get the same breach changes as the other ones. The M601, they've removed 4 bulkheads on it, so they've had to merge 2 plates. The Kronstadt, they've improved its acceleration, and its max reverse speed now has also improved to 28.8 kilometers an hour. And also, unused weapons are now hidden when different loadouts are equipped, so you won't be able to see it. They've changed the breaches on the PR-35 and PR-159, or the SKR-7 as they're known, basically the coastal machines at the high echelon of the Soviet naval tree, the rapid-firing ones. They've done the same with the Rosomacha and the Yenot. They've all got the breach changes as well. And the Armada, the fire director armor HP has been lowered, so it'll be easier to take that out. Probably won't make a huge difference, but it at least is there. The Brantford, the engine room and the auxiliary turret, the HP has been increased. The compartment HP has been lowered. They've removed a compartment and removed 2 bulkheads on it. So once again, changing up its armor models. As I've said many times, it seems like with Naval goes through easily the most changes. When it comes to all these different things. It's kind of nuts how many changes everything goes through. It's way more than any other mode, especially over the last year or so. And then the hood, so the horizontal armors can no longer be hidden in the armor viewer. It has a new 101mm vertical armor facing the bow and the stern. There's new 127mm armor in it. And also, they've changed some armor stuff. So the radio station and bridge armor is now RCA instead of RHA. And now the fire director armor is RHA. It now has 25, 50, and 76 millimeters of horizontal armor. The water belt armor is changed to RCA as well. The narrow line belt of armor is now only 19 millimeters, down from 76. They've reduced its overall weight by 2,000 tons. They've lowered its moment of inertia. They've made its acceleration worse, and its rudder area has doubled. So at least there's that. And the 381mm and 12.7mm turret dead zones have been fixed, which is quite nice. And also, they've changed the torpedoes from Mark 5s to Mark 4s. So overall, seems like a bit of a nerf to the hood. There's a few other naval changes as well, including the Leopard. They've increased the HP on the compartment and engine room on it. They've removed a bunch of bulkheads, 9 of them overall. They've removed 5 engine rooms as well, and also they've done the same breach change as everybody else. They've also merged 4 hull plates, so once again changing the general damage model. The Liscum, the transmission HP is increased, the compartment HP has been lowered, and they've once again removed 3 bulkheads on it. They've added 8 more coal bunkers to the Marlborough, so there's at least that. And the ML-1383, which is the new little coastal machine for Britain, the center of gravity has been changed, acceleration has been improved, and max reverse speed has been increased by 4 kilometers. So it should be a little bit quicker around the place. The Orla and the Peacock, they've increased the engine HP, they've lowered the compartment HP, they've removed 2 compartments, and also removed a bulkhead and the fire director mount, and given it the same breach changes as everything else, so it seems like a common thing with these ones. The Spey, they've lowered the compartment HP, removed 2 compartments and 9 bulkheads. The Akebono, they've increased the hull HP, but they've reduced the compartment HP. They've added a fire control room to it, merged 2 hull plates and removed a bulkhead. Then the Hatsukari increase on compartment HP. They've merged 2 hull plates with it. The Ikazuchi, the compartment HP has once again been increased. They've added a fire control room to it. They've merged 2 hull plates and removed 5 bulkheads. So it also gets the breach changes from other machines. The Isuzu, they've slightly changed the values of armor, and what I mean is by decimal values, so not going to really change that much about it. They've also increased the HP on the D211, I should say, Isuzu, the compartment, radio station, fire control room, and transmission. They've merged 2 plates, removed the bulkhead, and also removed the fire director mount, which is kind of surprising. When it comes to the Sendai and the Tama, they've changed their armor values. Overall, I would say it's a nerf to them in certain aspects. The Shonen, they've changed its breaches just like everything else. The Tokachi has a lowered compartment value with the same breach change as all of the other stuff. And the Eugenio de Savoia, its catapult HP has increased. God damn. The Gabbiano has had two hull plates merged, and they've removed a compartment and 6 bulkheads on it. So we'll have to see how all of these changes affect the naval machines and what's going to go on for them. When it comes to the aviation side of things, so the 30mm Mk103s, these are on stuff like the Horton 229, the Do 335B2, and also a bunch of other vehicles like the ME 262 squadron vehicle version. The rate of fire of the guns has gone from 380 to 450 RPM. So now it's in line with the other ones. So basically, the ones which on the Horton had a slightly different fire rate, I'm guessing, to the other Mk103s in the game for some reason, and now it's the same. So everything should be standard. The new bombs, so they added the ZB500 incendiary bomb, which we talked about before. It's on stuff like the MiG-23 and MiG-27. The interesting one is the 360 or the ZB360, because that's nowhere to be seen. So we'll have to see what that is. Then there's the 500-pound Mark 77 Mod 2, and then also the 500-pound Mark 77 Mod 4. Both of these are exactly the same. They're just a copy-paste right now. But they are the ones which are the direct successor to Napalm, if I remember correctly. The ZAB 500 and the BLU 27, they changed the fire damage quite a lot. So they increased its velocity multiplier, its max rise, its duration, but reduced its radius. So overall, it'll be more effective, just in a smaller area. They massively changed the M54As and how they work. This is the Phoenix missile, which is on the F-14. So the maximum fin angle of attack has been reduced to 10.8 degrees. The boost to start delay has been doubled to 0.5 seconds. The guidance duration has been basically cut to a third. So instead of being 300 seconds, it's only 100 seconds now. The radar side lobe attenuation has gone from -16 to -18. The transmitter, the power has gone from 200 to 100. The antenna angle has gone from 10 to 8. And the antenna side lobe sensitivity has gone from -30 to -19. The receiver antenna has gone from 10 to 8 and then -16 to -19. And the Doppler speed width from 125 to 120. It now lofts to the target as well. The flight time when pull limit reaches 100% is now 3.5 seconds instead of 1. The max G-load limit has gone from 25 to 16 Gs. And then the proximity fuse delay is from 1.8 to 3 seconds. So overall, I'd say this is probably a nerf to the Phoenix. We'll have to see how it actually does in the game on the good old Tomcat. The AIM-54B, which is sat in the files, this thing has changed from an AIM-7F copy-paste to an AIM-54A copy-paste. So at least it's closer to what it was before. When it comes to torpedoes, they have changed a few of them about. So the 21-inch Mark IV has gone from the Mark 7 model to now the Mark IV. So it now actually looks proper. Also, the 100mm Obis Skoda Da 117 Mod 1914. This is, of course, the gun which is on the Lancia, the little truck coming in for Italy. Its HE is now available stock, and its Heshpen has gone at 275mm. We also looked at the heat stuff. The 105mm as well, the heat on them has been reverted from when it comes to that nerf. So it went to Pen 360 millimeters, but now it's back to 400, so it looks like they haven't changed it too much. They added the values of the DTC-10-125. We had a look at that in the second video we did on the ZTZ-99A, so well worth having a look at that one. Also, the RIM-24A SAM was added, which we had a look at on the new premium machine for America, so check that one out if you are personally interested. They massively improved the accuracy of the 380mm guns, the SK-L45 and the SK-C34, so they should be a lot more accurate now. The 381mm ROBL Mark 1s, these are obviously the guns on the hood, I believe. The accuracy was also vastly improved, and the SAP has changed to SAP-CBC, and the APC has changed to AP APC-BC. Slightly changed in weight and also drag coefficient and pen, but should generally be the same. The southeastern city, more textures enabled on low quality, so less things will disappear. The Afghanistan city and Vietnam map for heli PvE EC, they removed the enemy fighters, which were causing a bit of a nuisance to PvE players. The southeastern city, the artillery bunker in AAA was moved. An abandoned town, the battle area spawns and capture zones were moved. And in Sun City, the airfields and their AAA helipads and their AAAs were moved as well. They also removed from the CDK the A6E textures, the AGM-78, the RAM-66 removed, and also the ZB-360 incendiary bomb. So they removed a bunch of stuff. We'll have to see what goes on with them. And then there was the update to the dev server. This is where the Chinese weapons were added for the helicopters, which was kind of interesting to see. But there was a bunch of other changes as well. So there was a new menu text, which was the new future required air vehicle is not required to research and purchase the next following vehicle. A future connection is shown between them. After date, this connection becomes permanent, and future required air, not required air, will required to research and purchase current air. All new vehicles receive this. So what they're doing is pretty cool. You know how you have that situation where if a vehicle gets added to the game and you were researching a vehicle after it and you complete the research on that vehicle after the new vehicle's in game, you can't purchase it, you can't use it? Well, they're adding in a system where it'll give you a limited time to be able to research that vehicle and then be able to purchase it before that happens. So even when a new vehicle is added, you will have an allotted time where you can research the vehicle after it, get it researched, get it bought, and then, not be just forced to research the other vehicle if you don't want to. This is a very positive change. It's really nice to see it. Very surprising to see this, but happy to see it in general. The new tournament text they've also added, which is about and rewards, so they're pushing the tournament stuff again. They've added new mission text, so battle number 123 and domination number 123, but they've removed some mission text in the descriptions of conquest number missions. Hopefully they remove conquest. Conquest is the weakest of the three major game modes that we have when it comes to War Thunder. And they've also removed Wallonia, the mission text, I should say, so not the actual mission itself. The radar HUD text changes, so the ACM has been changed to BST, and also ACM has been changed to BSL. They've also renamed a vehicle, which is the Veicolo Blindato di Combattimento Prototipo 2, is now the Veicolo Blindato da Combattimento Prototipo 2. So there you go. They also added the RP1 radar in. That's new. They added some new weapon text in the form of the laser IOG 125mm Type 99A, the GP125, the DTB12 and the RAM24A. They renamed a weapon, the PMB09 to the 090. Then they gave the new TBF1C skins names. So the Atlantic skin is the standard Atlantic camouflage pattern. It's the Squadron VC-42 of the USN, Carrier CV-9 USS Bogue, and then the Naval skin, the standard tricolor C camouflage pattern, the Squadron VT-2 USN, the Carrier CV-12 USS Hornet. So now we'll be able to kind of track them historically, which is pretty cool. The MD-500 TOW, which is the little bird, has been moved to rank 6, and now it's still hidden to understand that. The Zephyr, which is now confirmed to be the AH-1G, this is the new Israeli starting heli, so they'll probably get the H-1G first, which will go into the Little Bird, which will go into some kind of Apache. And then BR changes, the Douglas PGM-100, this is the premium with the missiles on it. It's gone from 4.3 to 4.0. Overall. The F5E, the Chinese one, they've increased its repair costs slightly, but remember, stuff like that changes a lot before it actually comes out. The P36A, the Rasmussen one, it's now a premium, so mod costs are zeroed out. So they're actually improving the P-36A Rasmussen. Don't know why it wasn't a premium before. It was always kind of weird that it wasn't a premium. And also the MD-500 TOW, which is the little bird. The reason why, so they've put it to rank 6, so they've increased all of its things. So like its RP has gone to 380,000 RP from 0 because it's now not a starter vehicle, and so on and so forth. So now it's got all of its standard stuff. They also added a new weapon icon, which is a missile air-to-air mix group. So you can basically bring two separate different missiles, it seems. Like you can bring like one air-to-air and then a different type of air-to-air as well. They also added some new radar parameters in the form of show secondary targets of interest true or safe TWS targeting matching equals false. Which is quite nice. The gameplay parameter changed. The max visibility of aircraft range is 105 kilometers now instead of 35. This is a huge change overall when it comes to all that stuff, which is good to see. The F4C now gets a 20mm on the center pylon, now available stock, so you'll just be able to burst a little bit, which will be quite nice. And the F-14A, they changed its flight model a lot, and they're going to keep doing that over and over and over again, by the way. So it loses more speed and lift in a spin. The wing Oswald efficiency number has been lowered. The max wing lift coefficient has been lowered. And the thrust multiplier at 0% throttle to 60% RPM has been lowered. And the fuel consumption at 100%, 110% throttle and 100% RPM has been increased as well. When it comes to the nose gear, the spring height has been halved, and the spring coefficient has basically been halved, and same with the wing gear as well. So definite big changes to that thing. Also the TBF and the Avenger Mark II, the outer wing, outer spar and vertical stabilizer, and fuel tank number 2 has been increased, so a bit more tanky. But other parts have been lowered, such as the fuselage, inner wing, and inner spar. They've merged 2 cover parts, and the visual break-off points of the wings and tails have also been changed. The Lim 5P, which still hasn't really been seen, it's kind of sat in the files still. They've changed its radar to the RP1, which we talked about before, and also added ammo counters to the cockpit, so you can see how many rounds you have, which is always nice. The MiG-21 BIS, the MiG-21 PFM, and F5E, they added its modifications and some basic loadouts and custom loadouts, so they were all sorted. The MiG-21 MF, they added the ZB360 to it, and same with the MiG-21 F13. The MiG-21 BIS gets the ZB500, and the MiG-21 MF and SMT get the ZB500 as well. They changed the model of the I-15 BIS by merging 2 cover parts in it, and then they removed the ZB500 from the MiG-17 for China and also the Soviets, which is very sad to see. The J7 also now has a separate fuel tank, so if one gets popped, you can maybe still keep going. The Milan 01, which is the premium French plane, the AS-30 on Pylons 3 is now correctly fired using the ATGM key, which is quite nice. The A4N now has CCIP for its bombs, so that thing is getting buffed again. That thing's really good, by the way. Probably one of the better aircraft for the Israelis at the moment. And then, of course, the Zephyr has been changed. The MD-500 selecting TOW 2s now correctly hides rocket pods and TOW 1 launchers, which is quite nice. And then, as I said, the Zephyr, they've added a bunch of stuff to it. Basically, giving it gun pod loadouts, they reworked the DM of it, and it has a new IRCM, which is the L166. They increased the empty weight and full weight of the M1A1A. It's now 62,000 kilos of full weight, and that is actually heavier than the M1A2, just to give you kind of an idea. They changed some visibility of certain vehicles, which should affect how much you can generally see them overall. And the ZTZ-99A, they generally improve the hull armor, but not enough to really make a difference, especially in the areas you're supposed to shoot the damn thing. The VBC Centauro PT2, they merged some composite screens, so won't be as many holes in the armor, and also they changed some of the armor so it has a little bit more overall, and also gave it ammo racks, so it'll pop, but at least you'll have a bit more armor. The Terran 4, the commander sights have been fixed on it, and also they added its ammo racks in the first stage. It's 20 shells on it, which is pretty standard. And the battleships and battlecruisers, the Citadel HP that they have, they've lowered them. So simple as that. The Douglas can now reload its SAMs on a cap. The gearing also they changed a lot, so they changed its center of gravity, its acceleration in forward, but its reverse acceleration was made worse. They added a search radar to it, which is quite nice. And also on the Iron Army, they increased its weight, but also increased its max speed and max reverse speed. So it'll be a bit heavier, but it'll be able to move around a bit more. The Jenny Airy has the same treatment, so heavier by about 150 tons, but also faster forwards and backwards on the vehicle. For the 125mm ZPT-98, they added the GP125 ATGM and the DTB12 125 HEVT, so they added that stuff. Once again, the ZB360 was added back in, and also the max flight distance for some of the fire or incendiary bombs was 50 meters instead of 30. The abandoned town, they gave the icons on the loading map screen, they fixed it, which is quite nice, and then for some of the other battles, they did some slight changes. They also added a bunch of stuff to the CDK, which we had a look at in the last in the files video, basically a bunch of different munitions options for Chinese helicopters. So that's the Datamine for the second dev server, plus the updated second dev server. Hopefully we can see some stuff added soon when it comes to the update, and then we can go from there. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Nicholas Richardson, Elove Goat, Pyman675, Winter Scientist, Merciless Reaper, Jerry Prevolt, Megadino King, Orange Tail, Teddy, John Ryman, Universe, Ambrosius McClellan, Daniel Stanton, Moxie, B. Young, Uncle Bean, Sem Arslan, Derek R., Bareen, Lafouche, and Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.